This video will explain how to use 4-figure and 6-figure grid references. Here we have a section of a map with symbols showing the location of some features. You will notice there is a grid of squares on the map, with each line numbered around the edge. I have coloured the numbers green and red to help us today, but usually they will both be one single colour. Grid references are the numbers that give the position of a grid square and make it easier to find features on a map. Let's start with 4-figure grid references. Look for the symbol for parking on the map. It is a white capital P on a blue square. We want to discover the 4-figure grid reference of the parking. The first 2 figures we require are the eastings. The vertical lines of the grid are called eastings. We start in the bottom left-hand corner of the map and move east until we cross the left-hand easting of the column where the symbol is found. The last 2 figures are called northings. The horizontal lines of the grid are northings. We move up the map from the bottom until we cross the bottom northing of the grid where the symbol is found. I have marked the left-hand easting and the bottom northing of the grid square we are looking for on the map. You might find it easier to remember you always need the grid lines of the bottom left-hand corner of the grid square you are looking at. The grid reference for the parking on this map is 0102. Look, the numbers aren't separated by a comma. The 4 figures must stand together. The 2 eastings figures always go first. Then the 2 northings figures follow. Some people like to remember it by saying, we go along the corridor first before we go up the stairs. Try another. What is the 4-figure grid reference of the viewpoint symbol near the top of the map? I have underlined the easting and northing to help you. The grid reference of the viewpoint is 0302. Try to work out the grid references of the other map symbols. I will put the answers in the video description below so that you can check your responses. Sometimes we may need greater accuracy. 6-figure grid references can be used to pinpoint a place within a square. Whilst I show you how to use the 6-figure grid references, I will temporarily add a background grid to each grid square. We are going to work out the 6-figure grid reference of the railway station. The first 2 figures are the easting, which is 02. We then need the 3rd figure, which is a tenth. The square is divided into tenths to help us. The railway station is about halfway across from the left. That puts it on 5 tenths. So we write 5 after the 02. The next 2 figures are the northing, which is 01. So we now have 5 of the figures that we need. We just need to work out the 6th. The railway station is over halfway up from the bottom of the square on the 7th tenth line. So we add 7 to the end. The 6-figure grid reference of the railway station is 025017. Remember, no commas or decimal points, just 6 figures together. There won't usually be a background grid on the map, so you will have to estimate the tenths. You might find it useful to think where the halfway point of the square is, so that you increase your chances of estimating accurately. Try work out the 6-figure grid reference of the telephone symbol. Work out the 2 easting figures, then estimate the tenths. Now work out the northings and again estimate the tenths. Did you get 029002? If you did, well done. You are showing that you can use this new skill. One last thing. If the feature lies on an easting or northing grid line, the 10th will be 0. Look at the symbol for the information centre. It falls on a grid line. The 6-figure grid reference is therefore 040016. Try to work out the 6-figure grid references for the other symbols on this map. I will put the answers in the description box below so that you can check your responses. I do hope this has helped you understand grid references. Thank you for watching.